The destruction of the globalist machine is happening right before our eyes, patriots. Trump's transition is sending shockwaves through the deep state as the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, exposes billions in wasteful spending. Major corporations are dismantling their woke DEI programs faster than rats fleeing a sinking ship. We're talking Boeing, Ford, Starbucks. The dominoes are falling. Meanwhile, Trump's team is taking shape with names that have the establishment trembling. Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Pam Bondi, and the word is Cash Patel might be heading to the FBI or maybe even the DOJ. Now, Patriots, as Trump's team prepares to dismantle the deep state, they're already fighting back by targeting conservatives online. And that's why you need VirtualShield Antivirus Pro protecting your devices. With malware attacks up 643% since 2020, the globalists are desperate to access your personal data. VirtualShield's real-time protection blocks their attempts to spy on patriots like you, keeping your digital life secure from their surveillance state. Don't wait. Get up to 75% off during their Black Friday sale at virtualshield.com/nextnews. Your privacy is your power. Okay, so a couple days ago, I saw this on the official Department of Government Efficiency website. The Doge has just found another $48 million to chop. The U.S. government recently approved the following grants. $45 million for a diversity and inclusion scholarship in Burma. $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil. And $288,563 for diverse birdwatcher groups. Yeah, those are some of the grants that Doge has already uncovered, which total over $48 million. Imagine what else we're going to find out. What's going on in those halls of power where all those grants are being processed. Trump's transition team has a 59% approval, according to a new CBS News poll. His incoming administration starts off mostly with goodwill from the public. A majority of Americans overall are happy or at least satisfied that he won and are excited. Let's listen to how CNN is covering this with Scott Jennings. He's a new favorite over there on CNN by all of us.
Ought to be able to. Well, the first thing I would point out is that in the CBS News YouGov poll that was released this morning, 60% of the American people approve of the way Donald Trump is handling his transition so far. So with all the pics and all the news that's come out of Mar-a-Lago, there is widespread approval from the American people that, hey, it seems like it's going okay. We need a couple of years of political peace in this country. When Donald Trump got elected, there was no peace, and it was constant dragging him down and investigations that were bogus and so on and so forth. This government needs to be allowed to operate.
Do you see that the woman on the far side of the screen there, when he said peace, she started like smirking about the attacks. Let's go back. Watch her smirk.
Hey, it seems like it's going okay. We need a couple of years of political peace in this country. When Donald Trump got elected, there was no peace, and it was constant dragging him down and investigations that were bogus and so on and so forth. This government needs to be allowed to operate. Republicans won the election. Wow. They have the presidency, they have the House, they have the Senate. Democrats need to fall in line here a little bit. They could be loyal opposition, but that doesn't mean you have to be totally obstructive. I think if they are, it's going to hurt them politically. The American people said we need some action, and Donald Trump and the Republicans ought to be able to take that action. It's the mandate delivered by the American people. Well, the first thing
Yeah, don't get in the way. You're going to get run over by the Trump train. Now, Ron Paul posted this 5 hours ago. He said, to my friends at the Department of Government Efficiency at the Doge, don't forget about the big one, the rapid out-of-control increase in interest payments on the national debt. It's on autopilot. Political resistance will be extreme and overwhelming. So Ron Paul issuing a warning. As you know, Ron Paul has been in communication with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to be a consultant with the Doge. And I'm excited about that. I mean, I'm super excited about just seeing Ron Paul like working to cut the fat in government and working alongside Vivek and Elon. So, you know, when Ron Paul issues a warning, I really hope that they pay attention. And I know they do. I know that they are. Elon Musk The media covering Doge on live TV is proof that we're living in a meme simulation.
Doge. This can be really interesting how it works. Ready to clean house. Some already celebrating the D.C. outsiders to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. Elon Musk on X earlier today. I still can't believe Doge is real, but I think it's actually going to work. With
And Elon Musk is just having the time of his life watching these things come to fruition. He posted this. In a meeting with senior military officers today, they told me, ready for this, it now takes longer to renovate stairs, 24 months, in the Pentagon than it took to build the entire Pentagon, 16 months in the 1940s. Talk about government waste. And he was quote tweeting Vivek Ramaswamy, who said, yes, it's true. Cutting bureaucracy will reduce the federal deficit, but the real win will be its pro-growth effect. The biggest cost of bureaucracy isn't the headcount cost. It's the bureaucrats that bureaucrats find legally dubious things to do that stifle freedom and depress our economy. And then Vivek was quote tweeting the rabbit hole. Doge will have to make some tough decisions on who to cut and who to keep. It's a consequence of decades of politicians irresponsibly stretching the role of government into areas where it does not belong. How many government employees will Trump and Elon cut? And right now, the forecast is stating 71,000 employees. I think it looks like it was at a high point, it was around 160. That's one of these betting markets. These are all the thing now, betting markets. But I think there will be more, personally. FCC chairman, nominee Brendan Carr says his two priorities will be to work with President Trump to smash the censorship cartel and combat the fake news media.
Number two is, for my own part, there's a couple of top priorities that jump to mind. Number one, as you noted, is censorship. Americans have lived under an unprecedented surge in censorship over the last couple of years, and we have to work together to smash the censorship cartel. Number two is media. You know, it's not just my opinion. You look at Jeff Bezos, he recently did an op-ed where he said trust in media is at an all-time low. And there's a lot the FCC can do there to make sure that broadcasters are, in fact, serving the public interest.
Well, maybe it's just selling off MSNBC, right? Amused posting this 6 hours ago. The View host forced to issue 4 legal notes in one episode over Trump cabinet selections. 4. The lies are so bad at MSNBC, they've got a team of lawyers monitoring the hosts in real time. That's how bad it is. And did you see this? This happened today. Ilhan Omar got called out. Watch this.
He's the Lord. God knows that you cheated, Ilhan Omar, in Minnesota. Follow Jesus, okay? He's the Lord of the heavens and the earth. Stop working for the deep state. God sent me to you today to speak that into your ears. He's seen all the evil that you've done. And your deep state cult that you're a part of wasn't powerful enough to stop Donald John Trump and the MAGA way, Elon. You're going to reap what you sow.
Did you notice how she reacted the minute he said the name of Jesus? Right there. That's the look of a demon.
Follow Jesus, okay? He's the Lord of the heavens and the earth. Stop working for the deep state. God sent me to you today to speak that into your ears. He's seen all the evil that you've done.
He's seen all the evil that you've done. And she just smirks because she knows it is true. She doesn't work for the American people. She works for her servant as a servant of the devil. Christie slamming Matt Gaetz 6 hours ago. Matt Gaetz was an abominable pick, and it was Donald Trump overreading his mandate. Well, he got smacked back. Christie? Like, who even cares what you have to say?
No Besson, so I don't want. There's a number of these nominees that are actually quite good. Like Doug Burgum, I've known him for a long time. He will do a really solid job as Secretary of
current
Interior.
governor of.
He still has some of that powder from those frosted donuts on his lips. You can see it if you look carefully. But you know, he's just salty that he never got any appointments. back in 2016. And he turned on Trump, became this total anti-Trumper. I mean, this guy, there's no recovery for Chris Christie.
North Dakota, and I've worked with Doug for a long time. He'll do a really solid job there. I think Brooke Rollins will do a really good job at agriculture.
Scott Bessent,
she's a very bright woman. I don't know Bessent, so I don't want to say. But certainly he's great. Certainly he's a mainstream type of choice. He's a Wall Street guy who's being put in by a Republican president. So part of this, John, too, is that there's too much hysteria about all of them, and I think that's going to be a mistake for the country. You know. Matt Gaetz was an abominable pick, and it was Donald Trump overreading his mandate. Well, he got smacked back. So there's a number of these nominees that are actually quite good.
Doug, this guy's foaming at the mouth. Anyway, you know, with respect to the Gaetz thing, we did this story the other day, and you know, all the shuffling of all these players. You know, Trump has endorsed another candidate to fill Gaetz's position. Gaetz said he's not going back into Congress, even though he was elected to go into the next Congress. I saw a lot of your comments. I read your comments when people were making those remarks. That Gaetz can, even though he resigns from this one, he was still elected to the next one, so he could go ahead. But he said he's not going back. Trump has already endorsed somebody for DeSantis to appoint into that position. But then we still have the opportunity for Gaetz to be appointed into the Senate. Now there's talk about Gaetz potentially going into being appointed as a special counsel, as an attack dog in the DOJ. There's that possibility too. But I think, you know, there's a lot of power that he could have there for sure. But I think having Matt Gaetz inside the Senate would be more powerful. I think if he could go ahead and bring that same attack dog mentality that he brought in the House of Representatives into the Senate, it would be a win for a lot of people. Okay, so maybe you guys have an opinion on that. I'd like to read them in the comments down below. Okay, let's continue here. We got more to get to in this segment. Okay, here we have Representative Ro Khanna. Elon Musk, cool. This is cool. When it comes to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse and opening the 5 primes to more competition, there are Democrats on HASC who will work with Elon and Doge. Isn't this interesting? Let's see.
Government like Elon Musk. I do want to ask you about, we were just talking about this a few moments ago, Doge, as it's called, this Department of Government Efficiency, led by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. You come from Silicon Valley. You represent that part of the country. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, should this be taken seriously? Should 2 people from outside of government like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have that kind of sway over what stays and what goes in the federal government?
Well, ultimately, they're going to provide recommendations. It's Congress that appropriates money. Let me provide an area where there could be bipartisan collaboration. I mean, the defense budget, which is nearly $1 trillion, is dominated by 5 primes. There has been tremendous reporting about the waste, fraud, and abuse in that budget. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit and has failed the last 6 or 7 audits. So if they go to say there needs to be more open competition, not the monopolization in defense contractors, and propose recommendations, that's something that I think could be supported. If they find areas of truly wasteful spending across the government, they would get support.
I do want to ask.
Well, that's interesting. We're seeing, this is the second clip that I've seen of some bipartisan support for cutting a lot of the waste in government. So that's definitely a good sign. That a lot of people are seeing eye to eye on this government waste. Let's continue. Yes. Meanwhile, Biden had a fight with his teleprompter at the annual turkey pardon.
And tater tots. According to experts, Peach weighs 41 pounds and loves to eat hot dish and tater tots, and cross-country skis. So, dreams to see, but the real dream is to see the Northern Lights, I'm told. According to
what? 56 days, Sean Farash making it clear that we won't have much more to endure from this guy. The popularity of real Donald Trump grows. Elon Musk continuing to post Despite the meltdowns from legacy media, the American people support President-elect Trump's handling of the situation, transition, and his cabinet picks.
In Palm Beach. Our latest CBS News poll shows that 59% of Americans approve of how President-elect Donald Trump is handling the presidential transition. Trump has kept up a steady drumbeat of staffing announcements from his Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. And that is where we find our Nicole Killian this morning with the latest.
After Saturday lunch with one of the senators who will vote on his cabinet picks, President-elect Donald Trump announced former domestic policy advisor Brooke Rollins for Agriculture Secretary. One of his most highly anticipated selections was Scott Bessent for Treasury. If confirmed, the 62-year-old investor would be the first openly gay secretary to lead it and responsible for quarterbacking Mr. Trump's proposed policies on taxes and tariffs.
The most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff.
A new CBS News poll shows a majority of Americans support imposing tariffs on imported goods, and more have an optimistic view of the economy since the election. Mr. Trump selected a pair of doctors to lead health agencies. Former Congressman David Weldon has promoted debunked anti-vaccine views and is being tapped to lead the Centers for Disease Control. Food and Drug Administration pick Martin McCary critiqued vaccine mandates during the COVID pandemic. And Project 2025 architect Russ Vought plans to reprise his role as White House budget director. Our polling also finds many of the president-elect's well-known designees have more support than opposition, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Pete Hegseth.
Our latest
debunked, they said. You heard that, right? they said debunked. Now, there is one appointment that's getting a lot of pushback, and it is the where is she? Okay, it is President Trump's pick for Surgeon General, Dr. Jeanette Neishwat. Now, I was following this. If you were following me on X, you saw a lot of my retweets and comments regarding what Liz Wheeler was posting. And one of my own friends made a comment about it that I felt was very disparaging about the pushback. And I believe the pushback is 100% valid. If you go back and review some of her videos during the pandemic, she was advocating for a lot of things that Fauci was pushing for, and what a lot of people were pushing back on. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Leo Terrell pushed back on Wheeler. And he said that she's really just interested in clicks and it's shameful. She's not interested in facts. And he says to trust President Trump's judgment. And he said that she failed to include this point in her hit piece that was with Tucker Carlson. So let's hear what this counterpoint is. Because this guy, Brian, says, Liz, please stop blackpilling. Many mistakes were made. It's important to note that the ones who came around. Okay, so did she come around? Let's listen.
Of COVID.
So in a story that's not getting enough attention, the CDC just voted unanimously to add the COVID shot to childhood immunization schedules. Some members of the panel at the CDC were wearing masks during the vote, even though they were inside on a Zoom call, to give you a sense of the caliber and emotional condition of the members of that panel. This decision will harm children. There's literally no question about that. Many states directly peg their vaccine requirements to the CDC schedule, and that means children will be forced to get this vax, which is unnecessary, scientifically unjustifiable, and dangerous, in order to get an education in this country. Now, the CDC denied our reporting on that. They lied and said that's not true, but it is true. It's absolutely true, verifiably true.
Stop disease, can't stop transmission.
People who want their children to receive this vaccine can, of course, give their children this vaccine. Why would the CDC put this on its schedule? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Maybe profit. There's no good reason to have a vaccine that can't stop disease, can't stop transmission of disease on this scheduled vaccination. You know, Tucker,
So she's pushing back. Or at least she came around. So we're going to have to keep even though we have all these appointments, yeah, we can cheerlead a lot of them, But we still have to have our eyes open, our ears open, and we have to make sure we hold people accountable no matter what. Because we don't know like where these people are all coming from. From what I understand, this woman is married to people she's connected to and, you know, going to like the World Economic Forum or something like that. So, you know, you really have to look at these people. So if she does get confirmed, and we have to watch her and we have to hold her accountable if she starts spewing some nonsense that we disagree with, just like we did before. We've also got this, Mindy Robinson, taxpayer-funded crying sessions over Trump. What is going on? Representative Darrell Issa is demanding answers from Secretary Blinken regarding taxpayer-funded crying sessions held for State Department employees after Trump's election victory. Sounds like a job for the Doge. We also have this, Janet Yellen resigning abruptly, but this appears to have been debunked and unsubstantiated because the Treasury Department news release page would provide official notice. So we don't have anything related to that. We've also got this disinformation distributor, Daniel Goldman. You guys know who he is. Says that despite the Constitution preventing Trump from running for a third term, it may still happen. They're still pushing this.
Or dismiss this. You recently introduced a resolution to clarify the Constitution's two-term limit for presidents. Do you think that there's a serious push among Republicans to change federal law to allow Trump to run in 2028?
Well, let me just give you the example that I just mentioned, which is that it appears to have been completely normalized that Donald Trump could either pardon himself or dismiss criminal charges against him if he becomes president. At one point, that was anathema, and everyone was like, oh, my God, that's crazy. That can't possibly be. It's the same thing now. This is how Donald Trump operates. He floats it. He normalizes it, and then it just becomes part of the common parlance. And so we wanted to lay down a marker to say and put everyone on record, Republicans included, that the Constitution is very clear that he cannot serve another term. And what my fear is that with him floating that, with some of his cabinet picks, which clearly are prioritizing political loyalists, that Donald Trump is well on his way to dismantling our government and the way that it operates. And we and Congress, the Republicans especially in the Senate, need to be a check and balance to ensure that our government continues to function for the people, not for Elon Musk and other billionaires.
Oh, man. Really? Really, dude? So Elon Musk is gonna dismantle the government based on his own his own capitalist desires. We're finding out this here too. President-elect Donald Trump to appoint Kash Patel to either deputy FBI director or to a DOJ investigative role. That's according to Axios. The final decision has not been made. Trump still could change his mind, including by elevating Patel all the way to FBI director. And that is what everybody wants. Here we have this from Vivek Ramaswamy. Most federal workers don't physically show up, yet the cost of maintaining and providing energy for government office buildings is $15 billion a year, not counting billions more spent on office furnishings. The government owns 7,967 vacant buildings. This is nuts, and it sounds like a job for Doge. Oh, remember how Ellen fled to the United Kingdom? Not Pam Bondi posted this 23 hours ago. That justice is coming.
I want to know why AG Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. You know, they're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
So she has her eye on some of those lists. Trump plans to overhaul the FBI, Rogers to lead, and Patel as deputy. That was 4 days ago. We do not want Mike Rogers at all anywhere near the head of the FBI. Laura Loomer reporting that President Trump has endorsed Jimmy Patronis for Matt Gaetz' open congressional seat in FL1. Trump says Patronis has done a tremendous job as CFO. So you can, this goes back to what we were talking about with Matt Gaetz, and of course he was part of the, he was initially the nominee for AG. He took his, he withdrew his nomination. Pam Bondi was then appointed, and now he said he's not going to be in Congress any longer at all. And now there's going to be an appointment into that seat, which, of course, there's also the appointment into the Senate seat, and we're going to wait and see. Hopefully, I'd like to see, like you've heard me say this, I'd like to see Gaetz as a senator. And then we have the CNN forced to admit Americans are in love with the transition.
Or meets the historical. Take a look here. President Trump's transition net approval. You go back to November of 2016. Look at this. It was just at plus 1 point. Just at plus 1 point. That is well below the historical norm. Look at where we are today. Significantly higher, plus 18 points. That's 17 points higher on the presidential transition net approval rating. The bottom line is this. If 8 years ago Americans were lukewarm on Donald Trump, at this particular point, they're giving him much more the benefit of the doubt. A lot more Americans are in love with this transition. This much more meets the historical norms where normally presidents get that boost coming out of their victory. And what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's presidential transition is getting a thumbs up, and dare I say, 2 thumbs up from the American people.
And, you know, we're still in the appointment phase at this point, but it does give insight to sort of where this team is thinking to lead some of these key departments, of course. I mean, but how do people feel about the prospects of his presidency, given the context of some of these picks?
Yeah, it's not just that they like what Donald Trump is doing right now. They're optimistic for the future. So, again, let's compare ourselves now versus where we were 8 years ago. And what you see 8 years ago, 53% of Americans were scared or concerned, the majority towards the upcoming Trump term. Look at where we are now. The shoe is on the other foot. 53% of Americans are excited or optimistic. It's flip-flop, where a narrow majority 8 years ago were scared or concerned about the upcoming Trump term. Now what we see is that the majority is excited or optimistic about the Trump term. So what we're just seeing is very different numbers from where we were 8 years ago. 8 years ago, folks really were not that in love with the Trump transition. Now they are, and more than that, looking forward to the upcoming Trump term. 8 years ago, the majority were scared or concerned. Now the majority are excited or optimistic.
Things are changing, and we might see Hulk Hogan running the Council on Physical Fitness.
Great to run the... And Donald goes, our president, excuse me, my president, said, you know something, Hogan? You'd be great to run the President's Council on Physical Fitness because you're 71. You still got that Trump pump on, brother, and it'd be great if you got all the kids in America in shape. My thing is, I'm a beach bum, brother. I love staying on the beach, but you never know. It could happen. And Donald...
Trump may tap Hulk Hogan to run the Council on Physical Fitness. Trumpomania is going to run wild on you, brother. Sean Farage posting that. Jack Posobiec posting 8 hours ago. Trump nominees facing positive chances on Capitol Hill. Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Pam Bondi, and RFK are next. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, where's she doing? Well, she may run for governor of California in 2026 or president in 2028.
Were held today. Vice President Kamala Harris lost the 2024 presidential election earlier this month, but a new poll suggests she's still the favorite among Democratic voters for the 2028 nomination. According to a survey by Echelon Insights, 41% of likely Democratic voters would back Harris if the primary were held today, putting her far ahead of California Governor Gavin Newsom at 8% and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro at 7%.
Okay, well, yeah, that honeymoon's not going to last. We've also got this. Several major corporations have begun dismantling their DEI policies. Let's listen.
On November 5th, American companies and lawmakers already rolling back DEI initiatives in response to Trump's election victory. Did DEI die on November 5th?
I think
think it certainly did. And you're already seeing some of the consequences of this in the private sector, where several companies are sort of rolling out these plans to roll back their own DEI initiatives that they've set in place over the past few years. But of course, I think it's going to be much more difficult to tackle DEI at the root than these companies and even some Republicans may expect. And that's because this is a big money-making racket, Todd. One Harvard professor estimates that U.S. companies spend about $8 billion per year on diversity trainings alone. That does not include the very profitable DEI consultants who can charge up to 6 figures for their work when they go into some of these corporations. And then, of course, there's the other issue, which is that even if you get rid of DEI initiatives in some of these private companies, and even at the federal government level, you still have not tackled the root of the issue, which is higher education. These ideas did not come from nowhere. They need to be torn out root and branch from our colleges and our universities, which, by the way, are also funded by our taxpayer dollars.
So DEI is dying. Doge is on the hunt. Ron Paul issuing his warnings. And Elon Musk is loving every minute of it. The View melting down. Elon Musk getting confronted. Krispy Kreme, well, forgot to wipe his mouth after that donut buffet. Even Democrats are jumping on the Doge wagon. Joe Biden fighting with his teleprompters, and, just overall good things happening. So the writing's on the wall, folks. The deep state's grip on power is crumbling, from the Pentagon's ridiculous inefficiency to the collapse of woke corporate America. Trump's return is already reshaping our nation. Doge finding another $48 million in wasteful spending, and that's just the beginning. So the question I want you to consider in the comments: how desperate will these globalists become as their control slips away? And you can show your support for the America First movement with our exclusive MAGAvengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Each MAGAvengers piece represents a blow against the bureaucratic machine. Join the revolution while these limited edition designs are still available. Link in description.